Hashem Yahushai, Ba'ashim Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone. Peace and salutations to all the Akim bishops, elders pushing this gospel in truth and sincerity. So I want to get into this. If you look at this on Google, today is the celebration of Route 66. So let's have a look at that.
If you ever plan to motor west, travel my way, take the highway, that's the best. Get your kicks on Route 66. It winds from Chicago to L.A. More than 2,000 miles all the way. Hey, get your kicks on Route 66. Hey, you go through St. Louis, Joplin, Missouri, Oklahoma City looks mighty pretty. You'll see Amarillo, Gallup, New Mexico, Flagstaff, Arizona. Don't forget Winona, Kingman, Barstow, San Bernardino. Won't you get hip to this timely tip when you make that California trip? Get your kicks on Route 66. Get your kicks on Route 66. Get your kicks on Route 66.
So that's a short video of the celebration of the anniversary of Route 66. Today is April the 30th, 2022. So let's get into a little bit of the history. So it says on the History Channel, 8 things you may not know about Route 66. So if we go down to number 2, you can see a portion of Route 66 from Rolla to Springfield, Missouri overlaps with part of the northern route of the Trail of Tears. The Trail of Tears is the exodus of the so-called Native Americans, who are the tribe of Gad of Israel. They are one of the 12 tribes of Israel. So it says, followed by the Cherokee Indians during their forced 1838 relocation from their traditional homelands in the southern Appalachians in 1830. The US Congress passed the Indian Removal Act, which granted the president the authority to negotiate treaties with Native American tribes to give up their lands east of the Mississippi River in exchange for unsettled lands west of the Mississippi. While some Indians ceded their land and left peacefully, the Cherokee, among other tribes, resisted in 1838. So in 1838, the Cherokee were forcibly removed by US troops and made to trek west to Indian Territory in present-day Oklahoma. Of the four main removal routes used by the tribe, the northern route from Tennessee to Oklahoma was followed by the largest group, 12,000 people, according to some estimates. In all, 15,000 to 16,000 Cherokee traveled the Trail of Tears, and an estimated 3,000 to 4,000 of them died along the way from disease, malnutrition, and exposure. So that's a little bit of the history, linking to Route 66. And, let's look at a few other things, because what is happening today with the food and the supply chain is somewhat synonymous to what the Cherokee Indians, the so-called Native Americans, experienced in their time. So let's have a look at this. This is from The Atlantic, the website The Atlantic, and it says, "Kill every buffalo you can. Every buffalo dead is an Indian gone." And it says, "The American bison is the new U.S. national mammal, but its slaughter was once seen as a way to starve Native Americans into submission." So here you see the buffalo. It was near the end of September, an unusually warm week in 1871, and William Buffalo Bill Cody and a group of wealthy New Yorkers stood atop a grassy hill near the Platte River in Nebraska, where 2 miles off they spotted 6 huge brown beasts. Cody was a legend of the frontier era, part myth conjured in dime novels. The men from New York had expected to find him as a desperado of the West, bristling with knives and pistols, but they did not. Cody was loquacious and friendly, an expert hunter. He knew that with the wind blowing from behind, the men risked their scent being carried to their animals and scaring them away. Then again, a buffalo is a lumbering, hirsute cow, and the men were outfitted with some of the quickest horses and held the best guns owned by the United States Army, which was outfitting the hunting expedition. The Army wasn't in the business of guiding hunting trips for soft-skinned Wall Streeters, but it was in the business of controlling the Native Americans in the area. And that meant killing buffalo. One colonel 4 years earlier had told a wealthy hunter who felt a shiver of guilt after he shot 30 bulls in one trip, "Kill every buffalo you can. Every buffalo dead is an Indian gone." Cody and the men made a contest of the hunt. Whoever killed the first buffalo would win an engraved silver chalice. Years later, in an article he wrote for the magazine Cosmopolitan, Cody would call this trip the best equipped he'd ever taken. The Army had supplied an armed escort and 25 wagons filled with cooks, linen, china, carpets for their tents, and a traveling ice house to keep their wine chilled. The reason for such extravagance was undoubtedly because the New Yorkers were well connected, but also because Major General Philip Sheridan, the man with the task of forcing Native Americans off the Great Plains and onto reservations, had come along with them. This was a leisure hunt. But Sheridan also viewed the extermination of buffalo and his victory over the Native Americans as a single, inextricable mission, and in that sense it could be argued that any buffalo hunt was Army business. After the men circled the herd, they charged down the hill, chasing after the 6 buffalo, eager for their first kill. On Monday, President Obama signed the National Bison Legacy Act, making the American bison, or the buffalo, as it's more often called, the national mammal. It's only the second animal to represent the US, joining the bald eagle. It's ironic, of course, because at one time American settlers and hide hunters killed the animal to near extinction, and tourists shot the animal from the windows of trains as if the slaughter could last forever. Buffalo had once numbered more than 30 million, and by the end of this 19th century, there were only a few hundred in the wild. Today, some 20,000 to 25,000 remain in public herds. So, this is a brief history about Route 66 linking to, just a brief history because, the celebration of Route 66 just brought that to my mind. And the means of starving out the people. And it also made me think of 70 AD and what happened in the Besiege of Jerusalem. So let's read a little history about the Besiege of Jerusalem. And this comes from the website Christianity Today. And it says, AD 70 Titus destroys Jerusalem. When the Roman generals sacked the temple, the Jews were forced into a new era, and so were the Christians. We know that the Christians are Jews. The Christians were first called Jews in Antioch, pertaining to the book of Acts. But let's read this article. Cestius Florus loved money and hated Jews. As a Roman procurator, he ruled Judea, caring little for their religious sensibilities. When tax revenues were low, he seized silver from the temple. As the uproar against him grew in AD 66, he sent troops into Jerusalem who massacred 3,600 citizens. Florus's actions touched off an explosive rebellion, the first Jewish revolt that had been sizzling for some time. The Jewish revolt began and met its bitter end at Masada, a hunk of rock overlooking the Dead Sea. The Romans had built a virtually impregnable fortress there, yet the atrocities of Florus inspired some crazy zealots to attack Masada. Amazingly, they won, slaughtering the Roman army there. In Jerusalem, the temple captain signified solidarity with the revolt by stopping the daily sacrifices to Caesar. Soon all Jerusalem was in uproar, expelling or killing the Roman troops. Then all Judea was in revolt, then Galilee. Cestius Callus, the Roman governor of the region, marched from Syria with 20,000 soldiers. He besieged Jerusalem for 6 months, yet failed. He left 6,000 dead Roman soldiers, not to mention weaponry that the Jewish defenders picked up and used. Emperor Nero then sent Vespasian, a decorated general, to quell the Judea rebellion. Vespasian put down the opposition in Galilee, then in Transjordan, then in Idumea. He circled in on Jerusalem, but before the coup de grace, Nero died. Vespasian became embroiled in a leadership struggle that concluded with the Eastern armies calling for him to be emperor. One of his first imperial acts was to appoint his son Titus to conduct the Jewish war. By now, Jerusalem was isolated from the rest. So that's the end of the preview of this article, so I'll have to continue that from another website. So let's go here. Siege of Jerusalem, 70 CE. So Roman military blockade, siege of Jerusalem. Roman military blockade of Jerusalem during the First Jewish Revolt. The fall of the city marked the effective conclusion of a 4-year campaign against the Jewish insurgency in Judea. So, as we read previously, it started in 66. This went all the way to 70. The Romans destroyed much of the city, including the Second Temple. The majority of information on the siege comes from the Copius, notes of the Jewish historian Flavius Josephus. So, some context. In 63 BCE, the Roman general Pompey captured Jerusalem. The Romans ruled through a local client king and largely allowed free religious practice in Judea. At times, the divide between monotheistic and polytheistic religious views caused clashes between Jews and Gentiles. This friction, combined with oppressive taxation and unwanted imperialism, culminated in 66 CE, so 3 years later, in the First Jewish Revolt, as I just read in the previous article. The revolt was successful at first. Jewish forces quickly expelled the Romans from Jerusalem, and a revolutionary government was formed that extended its influence into the surrounding area. In response, the Roman Emperor Nero sent the general Vespasian to meet the Jewish forces, an endeavor that pushed the majority of the rebels into Jerusalem. By the time Vespasian was proclaimed emperor in 69. In April 70, about the time of Passover, the Roman general Titus besieged Jerusalem. So they waited for the time of Passover. See, this article doesn't go into the fact that they had Tiberius Alexander helping them, who was a governor of he was an Israelite. He was a governor of Judea, in Judea. He was a governor of the Jews, and he was an expert in war. But I don't think this article goes into that. But you can read up about Tiberius. He was an expert in war, so he gave them much of their pointers on how to take down the Jews. But I'll continue on this article. The Romans allowed pilgrims to enter the city, but refused to let them leave, thus strategically depleting food and water supplies within Jerusalem. See that? So let's read that again. In April 70, about the time of Passover, the Roman general Titus besieged Jerusalem. So that probably was Tiberius's idea to wait until Passover. But anyway, since that action coincided with Passover, the Romans allowed pilgrims to enter the city, but refused to let them leave, thus strategically depleting food and water supplies within Jerusalem. Within the walls, the Zealots, a militant anti-Roman party, struggled with other Jewish factions that had emerged, which weakened the resistance even more. Josephus, a Jew who had commanded rebel forces but then defected to the Roman cause, attempted to negotiate a settlement, but because he was not trusted by the Romans and was despised by the rebels, the talks went nowhere. The Romans encircled the city with a wall to cut off supplies to the city completely, and thereby drive the Jews to starvation. So it's a similar tactic to what you see with the buffaloes killed, the many buffaloes killed. You can't really see it on that picture. I'm trying to show you a picture of. No, you can't really see it on this picture, but here on this picture you can see these are all buffaloes that this man is standing upon. These are all the corpses of buffaloes. Here you can see again more dead buffaloes, decapitated buffaloes. So starvation is a common tactic which Idumeans tend to use against their adversaries. They done it to the tribe of Gad, who are known as the Native Americans, commonly known as the Native Americans or Native Indians today. They are the tribe of Gad, one of the 12 tribes of Israel. And as I just read, the fall of Jerusalem, blocking entry and exit to the city of supplies, which then caused the people to starve. So let's look at this. So this is thehistorycollection.com, and it says episodes of cannibalism throughout history. And it says Flavius Josephus's The Wars of the Jews contains a passage graphically depicting cannibalism practiced by the Jews starving during the siege of Jerusalem. In Book 6, Chapter 3, Section 4, a woman named Mary, daughter of Eleazar, describes the suffering and lack of food among the citizens of Jerusalem as being so severe that she could no longer find any sort of food, and the famine pierced through her very bones and marrow. The hunger drove her to do a most unnatural thing, and she took her son, who was a child sucking at her breast, and exhorted him to be thou my food. Quote, be thou my food. As soon as she had said this, she slew her son, and then roasted him, and ate the one half of him, and kept the other half by her concealed. When the act was discovered by other Jews, they were too horrified by her actions to punish her. The story of her murder and consumption of her son spread through the city, and Josephus reported that when the people heard the story, they reacted. And Josephus reported that when the people heard the story, they reacted as if this unheard of action had been done by themselves. Josephus wrote that most of the people distressed by the famine wanted to die, considering those already dead to be happier than those still struggling to remain alive, reduced to such vile acts as those committed by Mary. So that's just an excerpt of the writings of the book of Josephus, which goes into detail about this woman Mary who roasts her son and these gangs which were going around gallivanting and looting, they smelt the smell of the flesh, and they went back and approached her and said, "We smell flesh. Where is the food?" And then she said, "Look, I've killed my son. Come here and eat." So that was in the writings. So starvation is a common practice, and the scriptures speaks of starvation and famine happening again. It prophesies for it to happen again. So let's look at this, because currently there's much talk regarding the farmland which is being brought up, the farmland which is being monopolized at the moment. So let's look what this video has to say about it. I've muted the music because the music is very out of context regarding, what has been written here. It's very it's out of context. So here you go. Let's read. Did you know that Bill Gates is now the largest farm owner in USA? Which strikes as odd, isn't it? Because he's into computers. So what business does he have for food, one would ask, if not monopoly? According to the Land Report, Gates has 242,000 acres of farmland stretching from Louisiana to Arizona. His largest farm holding is of 69,000 acres, situated in Louisiana. All of Gates' farmlands are being managed by Cascade Investment. That is managed by Gates himself. The investment company funds food safety company Ecolab, used car retailer Vroom, and Canadian National Railway. So then none of those are to do with food. This isn't the only company of Gates that has stakes in the agriculture sector. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation invests in production of supercrops and higher yield dairy cows. Supercrops, that would be, it's most likely that is GMO. In 2008, the NGO had announced 306 million in grants to promote sustainable agriculture, and this also touches on plant-based meats, the influx of plant-based meats and GMO meat that is being spoken of nowadays, such as like soy meat and things of that, tofu meats, things like plant-based, things of that nature. Among smallholder farmers in sub-Saharan Africa and South Asia. In fact, last year he announced another non-profit organization. So last year he announced another non-profit organization, Gates Ag One. Apart from the Cottonwood Ag Management that promotes sustainable agriculture, apart from Gates' wonderful company co-founders, the Stuart and Linda Resnick also own nearly 190,000 acres of farmland. So it's a monopoly. It's a monopoly. This is a monopoly. While Adanis and Ambanis are being accused of taking away farmers' land and produce in India, it is interesting how the largest farm owner in the USA is Bill Gates, with a net worth of nearly 121 billion. The food has been monopolized. So, the food has been monopolized. You've seen the history. What could be the dangers of a food monopoly? The besiege of Jerusalem, 30 million bison reduced to 25,000 after work was increased to 25,000. It was reduced to hundreds. Remember, every dead buffalo represents a dead Indian. So is there any malice in this? Is there any malice in the buying up of all the farmland? Surely not. Let's look at this article. Food shortages magnified by a string of destroyed food processing facilities. So this has been happening recently. This is a recent phenomenon. A large number of food facilities being destroyed. Food shortages have been exacerbated by a string of fires, plane crashes, and explosions at nearly 24 food processing facilities across Canada and the US. The most recent happened on Thursday in Georgia when a small plane crashed shortly after takeoff into a General Mills plant just east of Atlanta. 2 occupants of the plane were killed in the crash, as reported by the New York Post. A massive fire on Monday night destroyed parts of the Azure Standard headquarters in Oregon, a company that self-describes as the USA's largest independent food distributor. The company said, quote, basically any liquid product, such as honey, oil, and vinegar, will be out of stock due to the fire, as reported by Vision Times. The company also said it lost its fruit packing and carob product facility in the blaze, but said the effects will be minimal as fruit harvesting season hasn't started yet. Last Thursday, firefighters contended with a massive blaze at Taylor Farms packaged salad plant in Salinas, California, a key agricultural region 177 kilometers south of San Francisco. The fire broke out late Wednesday night, as reported by KTLA. That same day, an airplane crashed into Idaho's Gem State processing facility, a plant said to process 18,000 acres worth of potatoes each year. The pilot of the plane did not survive. However, no employees were injured, reported Vision Times. On April 13th, firefighters from several departments in Maine helped battle a massive fire that destroyed East Conway Beef and Pork Butcher Shop and Meat Market in Center Conway, North Hampshire. Investigators did not indicate what caused the fire, reported ABC affiliate in Portland, Maine. In March, Kate TV reported a major fire that forced the closure of the Nestle plant in Jonesboro, Arkansas. The plant makes frozen foods, particularly Hot Pockets. The frozen foods plant announced its plans for a $100 million expansion last year. The Penobscot Macron potato processing facility in Belfast, Maine, was also destroyed by fire in March. Officials believe a deep fryer was behind the fire, as reported by ABC affiliate WMTW. In Canada, fire crews and paramedics responded after an explosion at the Centre de Valorisation, an industrial food preparation and processing facility in Sherbrooke, Quebec. 5 people were injured in the March explosion that turned into a major fire. And in late March, a fire at the Maricopa Food Pantry, a food bank in Arizona, saw 50,000 pounds worth of food burn up, and yet another blaze at the Texas-based Rio Fresh severely damaged the onion processing facility. In February, a portion of Wisconsin River Meats was destroyed by fire, according to Channel 5000 News. The Mauston-based company said the old portion of its plant was a total loss from the fire. Another fire in February, sparked by a boiler explosion at a potato chip plant south of Hermiston, Oregon, sent several people to hospital with minor injuries. The Shearer's food plant, as reported by the Oregonian, supplies much of the western U.S. with potato and corn chips. A third fire in February caused the Lewis Dreyfus Company's Claypool, Indiana soybean processing and biodiesel plant, the largest fully integrated soybean processing plant in the U.S., to suspend production. Thankfully, no injuries were reported. A blaze at a poultry processing plant in the Hamilton region of Ontario in January caused extensive damage, but caused no injuries. The multiple alarm fire, as reported by Global News, will cost millions in repairs. Firefighters responded to a fire in January at the Cargill Nutrena plant in Lecompte, LA. The fire took more than 12 hours to put out, as reported by KALB TV. A fire in December caused more than $100,000 in damages to a San Antonio food processing plant. KTSC reported there were no injuries as a result of the fire. In late November, a fire engulfed the Maid Wright Steak Company food processing plant in Lackawanna County, Pennsylvania, as reported by ABC affiliate news WNEP. The cause of the fire was ruled an accident. A fire in mid-September at the JBS USA beef processing plant in Grand Island, Nebraska, halted operations in the facility that typically processes about 6,000 head of cattle daily. Although the fire damaged a portion of the facility, The company at the time released a statement that said the fire did not impact the primary production area, as reported by Reuters. Another raging fire in August of 2021 severely damaged the Paytack meat production company in Austell, as reported by Channel 2 Action News in Atlanta. According to the company's customer service department, Paytack meat production is operating at a much reduced capacity, but hopes to complete repairs in the coming months and will then regain full operational capacity. In July, firefighters battled a large fire at the River Valley Ingredients plant in Hansonville, Alabama. The cause of the fire, as reported at the time by embassy affiliates, was unknown. Another July fire at the Kellogg factory in Memphis, Tennessee, was determined to be an accident, and no injuries were reported. Dozens of crews were called in to help fight the fire due to the brutal heat, reported Fox 13 Memphis. The cause of a fire in April 2021 at the Smithfield food plant in Monmouth, Illinois, was unknown, according to WGIL in Galesburg. Although a fire in January 2021 destroyed meat manufacturer and packager Deli Star's production facility in Fayetteville, Illinois, as of February 2022, it has opened a new plant in St. Louis. Longview News Journal reported in January, police did not consider the fire suspicious. David Clement, North American Affairs Manager at the Consumer Choice Center, said, any disruption to the food industry will negatively impact pricing. Any additional disruption to the food industry and the food processing industry will create a ripple effect, Clement told the Western Standard Friday from Toronto. Anything that affects product availability will put upward pressure on food inflation. This is why Canada and the US are seeing skyrocketing prices, end quote. CCC is an international consumer advocacy group that, among other things, works to reduce industry regulators that lead to, quote, less consumer choice and makes products more expensive, end quote, says the website. Clement said he doesn't believe the Canadians will go hungry, but said anything affecting food disruption could potentially reduce product quantity on store shelves and create what he called shrinkflation. He explained shrinkflation is when there is a particular type of food shortage, consumers will pay the same for less of the product. An example would be, say if there is a potato shortage and the 350-gram bag of chips cost you $4, shrinkflation would see the size of that bag shrink to, say, 300 grams, but you would still pay $4 for it, said Clement. Clement said he didn't know the severity of what has happened with these food producers being affected in Canada and the US, but said anytime there is a decrease in supply, there is always upward pressure on pricing. And that's the end of that article. So, is there a link between the buy-in of land, buying of farmland, and with all these farmers, some of these farmers, it's their livelihood. It's not only their livelihood, it's their life. It's a way of life. So many farmers won't play ball so to speak. So what could happen to their land? What could happen to their livelihood? What could happen? Here is a video from about 8 years ago, which goes into the kind of meat many of these people that are buying up these farmlands, these acres of land, want to replace meat. They want to give their own version of meat, which is like a plant-based meat or a something which maybe tastes, which they believe tastes similar to the real thing. But they've also come up with this thing to make it cool and snazzy in the age of technology and in the age of these new people, this new age. They're very into their celebrities and things of that nature. So they've come up with this thing called Bite Labs Eat Celebrity Meat. So let's have a look at it. As you can see, Bite Labs has come up with a snazzy new thing for the new age. Where it's celebrity meat. They take cells from your favorite celebrities, so you can have a burger, but it could be like a Taylor Swift burger or a Travis Scott burger or your favorite Kardashian, because they would have taken cells from those celebrities and put it inside the burger. So in essence, you could become cool, you could become like your celebrity, your chosen celebrity. You know, your friend might order their regular burger of their regular celebrity, and you might have your favorite celebrity, which you stand firmly that you only eat that kind of burger. So this is what potentially happens when a monopoly is in place. The rules change and the rules are governed by the owners of they play both sides of the fence. They play both sides of the board game. They have all the chess pieces. So let's but it's all under, you know, this is all under view. The Lord is watching. The angels are watching it. So many people don't perceive that. But through all of this, you know, these heaps of buffaloes and these celebrity meats and these starvations. It's all, the Lord is aware of it. The Lord is sanctions it. So let's see some scriptures. This is prophecy. Genesis 49 and 19. It says, Gad, a troop shall overcome him, but he shall overcome at the last. As you know, Gad is one of the 12 tribes of Israel. They are known as Native Indians. They are also known as Native Americans today. And in the very first book of the Bible, it tells you Gad, a troop. This is his true name. This is his true identity. Gad. A troop shall overcome him, but he shall overcome at the last. So let's see another scripture. So this is Ecclesiastes 7 and 8. Ecclesiastes 7 and 8, it says, better is the end of a thing than the beginning thereof, and the patient in spirit is better than the proud in spirit. Let's get another scripture. Corinthians, 1 Corinthians 2 and 9. It says, but as it is written, I have not seen, nor ear heard, neither have entered into the heart of man the things which God hath prepared for them that love him. This is very interesting. This is very interesting. Neither have entered into the heart of man. Bear in mind that many Israelites meditate on not only on the day of the Lord, but also the kingdom. However, even they have not seen or heard, neither have what is in store, the riches which are in store, neither have entered into the heart of man, the things which God hath prepared for those that love him, for them that love him. Here is a taste of it. Lion. See, this is Isaiah 11 and 6. The wolf also shall dwell with the lamb, and the leopard shall lie down with the kid, and the calf and the young lion and the fatling together. And a little child shall lead them, and the cow and the bear shall feed. The young ones shall lie down together, and the lion shall eat straw like the ox. you've seen the History Channel, you've seen the National Geographic Channel, and you've seen how violent it can be, but none of that. The wolf on the sheep, the lion and the ox all together, the leopard and the child, the snake all together, a child leading them, the lion grazing, all of these things are in store. This Zechariah 1:3. Therefore say thou unto them, Thus saith the Lord of hosts, Turn ye unto me, saith the Lord of hosts, and I will turn unto you, saith the Lord of hosts. And we're in that time where it is high time to wake out of sleep. It is high time to turn towards the Lord. And that is a plea. And for those that choose not and choose to put up their riches in this world, and ultimately those who choose to really be part of this world as pertaining to Revelations. Isaiah 54:16. Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work. And I have created the waster to destroy. This is talking about the nuclear weapons, which several countries are in possession of. Some of these countries are even in possession of what they call hypersonic missiles. So let's look into hypersonic missiles. So a hypersonic missile travels 1.6 kilometers per second. So let's see how much that is in miles. One 0.4. So that is 0.8 miles. 0.8 miles. So 2.468. So that means in 1.25 seconds, a hypersonic missile will cover 1 mile in 1.25 seconds. So if you've driven in a car, or, if you know what a mile looks like, a mile is 4 times around a racetrack. A full size racetrack. A full size racetrack is 400 meters long. So a mile is 4 times around that. 4, 8, 12, 16. Yeah. So 4, 8, 12. 4, 8, 12, 16. So 1600 meters. So it travels 4 times around a racetrack in 1.2 seconds. It's very fast. For an earthly weapon, it's very fast. So let's get this last scripture. This is Proverbs 8:36. And it says, "But he that sinneth against me wrongeth his own soul. All they that hate me love death." So I'll leave that there. Kahalo Yahal Bashim Yahal Shai Bashim Rakal. Again, double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone. Peace and salutations to all the Akim, bishops, elders, pushing this gospel in truth and sincerity. And to the Akwaf, blessings to you also. Shalom.